deeper than most. A short conversation can stay in their mind for days. A strange look can make them think about it over and over. While other people can easily forget things, their mind keeps replaying every little detail. And the strange part is, most of us don't even realize it's happening. Because on the outside, they still smile. They still say they're fine. They still listen to others like they always do. But the truth is, this is not just thinking too much or overthinking like we often joke about. Psychology is starting to discover that this kind of sensitivity is not a choice. They are not trying to make their own life exhausting. It is the way their nervous system has been wired since birth to process every piece of information with a stronger intensity than the rest of the world. Today, we're going to peel back the psychological layers behind people who feel everything deeply through 10 facts backed by science. Whether you see yourself in this or you're trying to understand someone you love, this video will help you understand the real mechanism behind that sensitivity. Welcome back. I'm Apex. Let's dive a little deeper. Truth 1, the nonverbal scanner. Imagine you're at a get-together with old college friends. One guy just broke up with his girlfriend, but he still shows up. He laughs loudly, tells funny stories, keeps clinking glasses, and proudly says he feels totally free and happy. Everyone at the table buys it completely. They pat him on the shoulder and congratulate him on being single. But the brain of someone who feels deeply does not work that way. The crowd is being fooled by the surface, while their radar system is quietly scanning the deepest layer underneath. Let me ask you this. How much of the truth do you think words carry when we show emotion? 50% or 80%? In 1971, psychologist Albert Mehrabian published a study with the 7-38-55 rule that shocked a lot of people. Words, the thing we use most to hide ourselves, turn out to make up only 7% of emotional communication. The rest gets exposed through 38% tone of voice and up to 55% body language. The crowd only hears the 7% of his words saying, "I'm fine," but the sensitive person is reading the full 93% of the truth still being hidden. When he laughs, they notice the smile never reaches his eyes. They hear a swallowed sigh the second he puts his beer glass down. They see the anxious tapping of his fingers on the table, and they even catch the micro-expressions, tiny facial expressions that flash by in less than 1/15 of a second. Their brain immediately sends back an error message. Data does not match. The words sound happy, but the emotional frequency is broken. This process happens in a flash. It is like touching fire and pulling your hand back by instinct. You do not need to stop and think. Your nervous system instantly knows it is danger. Ironically, this ability to see through things makes them the best kind of friend, but also the loneliest. They always know what pain other people are hiding, but rarely does anyone have enough sensitivity to see the anxiety behind their own smile. Truth 2, the emotional sponge. Have you ever watched a movie, and even though you knew it was all special effects and actors pretending, you still cried your eyes out like you were the one going through that pain? Or have you ever sat next to someone who was angry, and even before they said a word, your chest already felt tight? In psychology, this is called emotional contagion. It comes from the mirror neuron system. In HSPs, this system works at full power. Your brain actually simulates the other person's state inside you. When you see someone cut their finger, the pain processing area in your own brain also lights up. You do not just empathize with your mind, you empathize with your body. In ancient history, these people were often chosen to be shamans or spiritual connectors for the tribe. Why? Because they could sense the energy and unrest of the community before it turned into action. But today, in a world where social media throws thousands of negative stories in our faces every day, this sensitivity becomes a trap. You scroll through TikTok, see the funeral of a stranger, and for the whole afternoon, you sink into sadness. You become a sponge that soaks up all the emotional trash of the world. Truth 3. Allergic to the environment and violence. Do not think sensitivity only stops at human emotions. Their nervous system is also tortured by the physical space around them. Why do some people today absolutely hate going to bars, pubs, or music festivals? Even working in an open space office can feel like torture to them. Most people have a filter in the thalamus, the part often described as the brain's gatekeeper. This gatekeeper says, that music is background noise. Ignore it. The air conditioner sound, ignore it. Focus on the person talking in front of you. But in people who feel deeply, this gatekeeper has fallen asleep. Every physical stimulus gets approved and sent into the brain at the same time. A coworker chewing gum, the clacking of keyboards, the strong perfume of the girl standing nearby, the car horns outside. All of it hits you at the same volume. This extremely low sensory threshold also explains something these people often experience. They are deeply afraid of bloody horror movies or news about terrible accidents. When they watch a violent scene, even though their logical mind knows it is just movie effects, their brain still releases stress hormones as if they are the one being attacked. Their stomach twists, they close their eyes, they refuse to watch, not because they are cowards, but because their nervous system is screaming to be protected from that physical overload. Truth 4, the need to power down to come back to life. And when you add all of that together, reading people, soaking up the sadness of the crowd, dealing with noise, lights, what do you get? A sudden power down that no one sees coming. If extroverts recharge by interacting with others, these people recharge by disconnecting. After a long day at work, your biggest desire is not to go drinking or grab coffee. It is to sit in a dark, quiet room with no one touching you and no one asking you anything. In clinical psychology, this is called allostatic load reduction. Your body needs time to clear out the cortisol, the stress hormone that has built up after hours of being bombarded by information. If you do not get this time, you fall into a state of shutdown. You become irritable, unfocused, and empty. You might notice your partner complaining, "Why do you always come home so quiet and not talk?" The truth is, you do not hate them. Your emotional gas tank has simply run down to the very last drop. You need silence to come back to life. Truth 5, the fear of time pressure. There is a very common line people say in job interviews. I can multitask and work extremely well under time pressure. Remember this carefully. Sensitive people will never and can never honestly say that sentence. If you want to completely destroy the brain of a sensitive person, give them 3 tasks at once and place a ticking countdown clock right on their desk. Guaranteed, they will freeze completely. The reason comes from the mechanism called depth of processing. Their brain is like a supercomputer running deep analysis software. Any piece of information that goes in gets automatically broken down, turned over, compared with past memories, and checked against possible future risks. They produce extremely high-quality work, perfect down to the smallest detail. But the price of quality is time. When they are forced into a tight deadline or have to keep jumping between tasks, their deep train of thought gets cut off. The pressure creates a large amount of cortisol, pushing their brain into panic mode. They hate being rushed. They only truly shine and create masterpieces when they are given a quiet space and enough time to sink all the way to the bottom of the problem. Truth 6. The loop of chewing on the past. There is a cruel paradox for sensitive people. They have an amazing emotional memory. You may forget what you ate for breakfast this morning, but you will remember clearly the disappointed look on your mother's face 15 years ago when you broke that flower vase. You remember every single word of a negative comment online from 3 months ago. Psychology calls this rumination. Because you process information at a deep level, memories are not stored only as data. They are stored as multi-sensory experiences. When you remember something sad, your brain recreates the sharp pain in your chest and the shaking in your hands. From an evolutionary point of view, this ability once helped our ancestors survive. Sensitive watchers remembered very clearly where the traps were, the smell of dangerous animals, or the smallest signs of an approaching storm, so they could warn the tribe. But in the modern world, when there are no wild animals left to fight, we use this ability to attack ourselves. We get stuck in the loop. Why did I say that? I should have done it differently. We become prisoners of our own wonderful memory. Truth 7. Frozen in the face of conflict. A person who feels deeply is often the most peace-loving person in any group. Not because you are weak, but because you are afraid of what conflict feels like. The truth is, to the brain of a sensitive person, a loud argument with a partner or harsh criticism from a boss is not processed like a normal social problem. In evolutionary psychology, their brain connects social disharmony directly with a survival threat. When they face a sudden cold tone, the amygdala, the brain's fear warning center, immediately takes over control. Science calls this amygdala hijacking. At this moment, their body is flooded with adrenaline. They enter the freeze response. That is why they often lose in arguments. Their mind goes completely blank and they cannot fire back with sharp points to defend themselves. Instead, their survival instinct pushes them into the fawn response. They may rush to apologize and take all the blame, even when they did nothing wrong, with only one goal. Please, put out this anger and bring peace back into this space. Winning an argument just to satisfy the ego is never their goal. They would rather carry the hurt silently than face the growl of conflict. Truth 8. The can't say no disease. It's the weekend. You are completely exhausted, lying flat on your bed, when a coworker texts you, "Hey, can you cover my afternoon shift today? Something urgent came up." Clearly, you do not want to. Clearly, you need to rest. But when you look at the message, after exactly 3 seconds of hesitation, your fingers automatically type, "Okay, I'll head over." Why do we torture ourselves like this? It is honestly scary that neuroscience shows this. The human brain processes the pain of social rejection in the same neural area as physical pain. For people who feel deeply when they are about to say no, they immediately picture in vivid detail the other person's letdown, their sigh, their disappointment. That imagined sadness bounces right back into their own body, creating guilt, discomfort, and a real physical ache. So saying yes is actually a defense mechanism. Covering someone's shift, lending money even when they are broke, sacrificing personal boundaries, all of it is just a quick painkiller. They are cruel to themselves, just to escape the guilt of thinking they are being selfish. Truth 9. Ecstasy in the face of beauty and art. We have gone through so many dark corners, limits, and traps of exhaustion. If the psychology of sensitive people were only full of torture like that, then maybe nature made a mistake. But no. This is the most beautiful part of a sensitive soul, the ability to enjoy beauty at an extraordinary level. Psychology calls this vantage sensitivity. If your nervous system amplifies pain, it also amplifies joy. Most people go to an art exhibition and think it is pretty. Sensitive people go and may stand there crying in front of a painting because they can feel the full vibration of the artist's soul. You hear a beautiful song and feel electric waves running down your spine. That is called frisson. You look at a glowing sunset and feel a kind of peace so stunning that most people never get to touch it. You do not experience life in 16 million colors. You experience it in billions of shades. A delicious meal, a gentle touch, a breeze, carrying the smell of fresh grass. All of it can give you the same excitement that other people feel when they achieve something big. This is why HSPs are often highly creative people. You do not create art. You simply translate the bright, colorful world you see so everyone else can understand it. This ability to feel beauty is the antidote to all the pain you have to carry. Truth 10. The orchid and dandelion paradox. Psychologist Jay Belsky divided people into two main groups. Most people are dandelions. They are tough. They can grow almost anywhere. They can handle wind and weather. Even when the environment is bad, they are still okay enough. But they rarely bloom into something truly breathtaking. People who feel deeply are orchids. Orchids are extremely sensitive to their environment. If their living conditions are poor, such as pressure, violence, and lack of empathy, orchids will wither faster than almost any other flower. That is why these people are more likely to experience depression or anxiety disorders. But if they are placed in the right environment, where they are understood, given personal space, and allowed to do work they love, orchids can bloom into flowers so beautiful, bright, and rare that dandelions can never match them. Research shows that when they succeed, they often go far beyond the average person in leadership, creativity, and strategic thinking. Sensitivity is not a defect, it is an evolutionary strategy. In the ancient world, if the whole tribe had been made of dandelions, they might all have died because no one would have noticed the poisoned water source or the enemy hiding in the bushes. The tribe needed orchids to be the watchers, to sound the alarm, to sense the tiny changes in the weather and in people's hearts. You were born with this sensitivity because this world needs you. We have just gone through 10 truths that help decode the brain of people who feel everything too deeply. As you can see, you are not too much, and there is nothing wrong with you. You simply have a high-powered machine in a world that prefers average settings. The biggest trap we often fall into is trying to become a dandelion. You force yourself to be tough. You force yourself to put up with noise. You force yourself to play exhausting social games. But forcing an orchid to live like a dandelion only leads to one result: withering. The way out is not to make yourself less sensitive. The way out is to learn how to master that power. First, set boundaries. Treat your energy like a bank account with a limited balance. Do not let everyone walk in and withdraw from it whenever they want. Second, accept solitude. Do not feel guilty when you need to be alone. That is when you are giving yourself emergency care. Third, use beauty. Use art and nature to balance out the emotional toxins you absorb every day. Living deeply is a cruel sentence if you do not understand it, but it becomes a wonderful privilege when you know how to steer it. You see the hidden rocks that others miss, but you are also the only one who sees the magical glowing light at the bottom of the ocean. If you see yourself in this video, remember that you are not alone. Around 15 to 20% of the world's population are HSPs, people who feel deeply. We are a quiet tribe, watching and feeling this world on behalf of everyone else. Out of these 10 truths, which one hit a little too close to home? Or is there a sensitive experience you had that other people looked down on?